All right, guys, it's been a while, dude. The new thing for Grand Blues coming out, so I'm trying to get caught up, man. Apparently this was a debate that I've really been looking forward to. Destiny versus Konstantin KISIN. I don't know if I'll get through the whole fucking thing because videos are long. But what I will say is that oh god, trying to play with a mouse and keyboard instead of my controller. This is going to be so awful. The thing that's crazy is I really like a lot of what Konstantin did back in the day. But my big problem with a lot of these people is like they'll make this appeal to civility, right? Man, it's really good when we talk. Which it's cool when people talk, but if nothing's being done with the conversation, then the conversation was essentially pointless. The goal is that we need to get to some kind of shared truth or shared reality. And when we come at things from different perspectives, the goal is to converse with one another and build a foundation to which we can work with one another. But if we disagree on definitions or disagree on objective reality, it just makes things really hard. And it's just always weird that like these people will have really extreme opinions, but then ask you to treat them super politely. And at some point, when people ask enough questions, you have to wonder if it's coming from a place of like genuine curiosity or some form of maliciousness. It's okay to question your parents when they make a statement, but if every time you talk to them, you're questioning your parents, at some point the authority kind of disappears. There's nothing wrong with posing questions and wanting to seek a greater level of intelligence from a particular topic. That's preferable. But the problem is when all you do is pose questions, but you don't actually work towards any solutions. The posing of the question is just a form of saying, I don't trust your authority on the topic. And then the conversation breaks down into nothingness. Anyway, getting to see Destiny, who, you know, every once in a while I have a disagreement with him. You know, it's always strange that I'll have an opinion and then a couple months later, Destiny's on that shit. Like I'm apparently a hidden thought leader for this motherfucker. Or we just are on a similar path on similar issues and he's, you know, or maybe he's thought him before I did and I just articulated it. I don't know. Who knows, bro? But the point is, Destiny's usually willing to get into the weeds, and he's vastly more intelligent than someone like me is. And to that credit, Konstantin is really good at like political waxing, bro. Like where he just does this like let's all get along bullshit. It's very Lex Friedman in its approach, and it's nice to have conversations, but those conversations have to have goals and work towards something tangible. But he's a very articulate individual. He understands humor, and, you know, he's very good at expressing himself. He's a very good orator, you know. Like, you could tell that he's been, like, trained on how to speak publicly and effectively, and he's much more careful with his words. So this could be one of Destiny's biggest battles. Konstantin is not a Dinesh, but I know Destiny said he wanted to turn this into a Dinesh-like expose on Konstantin as just as a charlatan in the idea of thought. Let's see if that was something that came to fruition or, you know, was it just more of the same bullshit as always? Either way, let's get into it.
Hey everyone, Trav here, just to remind you that every new active subscriber directly contributes to how quickly we can produce these kinds of conversations for you. So please take a second to subscribe, smash that like button on the video, and make sure you leave us a comment in the comment section. Now please enjoy Konstantin KISIN versus Destiny.
Are you the same as you were 10 or 15 years ago? What do you mean by that? The same. You're not unchanged, right?
Are you pretending to be a moron or are you actually being one?
Your guys' definitions for everything change at all points in time. That's always the issue. That's always the frustrating thing when it comes to fighting.
Who's us guys?
Conservatives.
I'm not a conservative.
I know you
so-
say you're not, but
Like-
are you sure
So
you're not running for a
conservative.
political party right now? Because that was the most politician answer I've ever heard in my life. Of a conservative view on foreign policy.
Oh my god, dude. Yes. Oh, okay. I've waited for like a month for this. I am erect. I am ready. Let's get into it.
Policy. Over the past 5 years, so you do this thing where you're like, well, I have to choose between two things.
I'm not going to talk if you keep interrupting me. I'm not interested in
I'm not
this.
interrupting
Whatever
you.
this is, you are.
I'm literally not. I'm asking you a question. You just refuse to answer. This is the game. How did I do it again? I'm asking you a
fuck.
clear
I'm
question.
trying
You
to
can't give me an
mark in
answer.
my head.
I'm not going to talk to you unless you listen to what I'm saying as well as me listening to what you're saying.
I am listening.
Okay, good.
Welcome to Pangburn. Are we ready to go?
I can't do it. Okay. Mouse. Keyboard.
What I hope to see on the Pangburn stage here tonight is what I always want to see, and that's good faith, helpful discourse. The Pangburn maxim, the communication maxim, is that good faith and helpfulness are the minimum requirements for a fruitful dialectic. That's what we want to see. And ultimately, I hope this conversation tonight, when it's shared with the world, will maximize well-being for humanity in one way or another. So, in saying that, please welcome to the stage Konstantin, KISIN, and Destiny! Can national identity survive open immigration?
Yes.
I guess I'll
You
take
go for it.
I'll kind of take the reins on this. I feel like when I hear people talk about things related to open borders, mass migration, or national identity, there's kind of two questions that always pop up in my mind, and I never hear people actually kind of tack down what they mean when they say these things. So the first thing is, for national identity, I don't know as much about the various identities that exist in the UK, but I know for the United States, to try to find an overlap between identity from a gay guy in San Francisco versus like a farmer in Iowa or something, there's not many commonalities there to speak of when you talk about national identity, especially when I'm thinking of it in the context of what type of immigrant would threaten that whatever unified identity, whatever those two things are. So I'm kind of curious, I guess, when I think about national identity, when I think about it being threatened by people, my first question is, what is the national identity that we're trying to protect for the United States or for the United Kingdom? And then when we talk about like migration or mass migration, what do we mean exactly when we say that?
Well, okay. So there's two questions there. What is national identity and what is immigration? Why don't we start in reverse and talk about immigration? Take Britain as an example, right? So I've lived in this country. I came to Britain it was just about Russia. Prior to that, it was the Soviet Union in 1996. So let's go back to 1991 because that's the data when we have the census. 1991. What has happened in the last 35 years? So in the last 35 years ago, this country had a population of 58 million people. Today, the population is 70 million. Almost all of that is due to mass immigration. So the population of Britain, the immigrant population of Britain, that's first generation, people who've arrived, went from 4 million to 12 million in the space of 35 years, right? It trebled in 35 years. Now, you might say, well, you know, is that a lot? Is that a little? Who knows? That is more people, in the last 35 years, more people came to Britain than came to Britain in the previous 2 millennia. So more people in 35 years than had come in 2000.
What the like? Well, that doesn't mean anything. So more people have immigrated to the country. Well, why? What's going on globally that's causing that? What are some of the issues that are happening structurally in your country? What about the demands of your workers and the offspring? The new birth rates and the declining. Like, there are so many factors that can go into that. Maybe your guys' like economic output dramatically increased and the demand of more workers came in and a higher degree of lower skilled workers were required that most companies weren't willing to pay. Or what about those workers that are highly skilled workers that came from other areas of the world, like in like tech sectors and stuff like that come from India and stuff, where some of these things have higher values. Like, the populations have increased probably because there's been like dramatic falls of civilizations, like the collapse of the Soviet Union. Maybe, like, there's so many factors. Just to say that the numbers increase doesn't say anything. You have to define what you're talking about, where the issue is, and what your problem is with certain type of immigrants, and where immigration can be improved on a... It requires nuance other than talking points, dude. Like, well, okay.
1,000 years. Now, that seems like quite a lot, right? Now, we'll talk about some more facts about this, and then we can talk about national identity. I'm going to take a little time, if you don't mind, just to lay this out.
Yeah, I guess just kind of poke around as you answer.
Yeah, but hold on. Let me just let's talk about what we mean by immigration, right?
Okay. Well, then also the mass, because I hear a lot of these words will be like, it was a lot of people.
Well, hold on.
I was like, what does that mean? Yeah.
I'm explaining it. So
Okay.
more people in 35 years than 2,000 years, that sounds like quite a lot of people. Is
Not
that fair?
necessarily, no.
Is that fair?
No, not really, right? In the
Not
context,
really.
like if I were to ask for like
Right.
the total growth of wealth compared to like the last like 50 years might also dwarf the last 2,000 years, or the total amount of carbon pollution, or the total amount of TV episodes or plays written or songs written. Like, I don't know if I would just arbitrarily say, I'm going to look at immigration, and I'm going to measure it past some
Right.
1,000-year thing or whatever.
You don't think that more people coming
All right, but like the context is like, what, like, are we having a conversation on how much immigration has happened, or having a conversation about where immigration is bad? Like, if we can't even agree that immigration has increased, that's cool. But like, what's the end goal that we're working towards here? Like, it's hard to own up to a point like this when your point is that so many came in, and that by in itself is a problem, when we aren't defining a problem. Like, in order to bite a bullet on whether or not it's too much or something, we need to define by what you mean by that. But like, he's not gonna do that. He never does. He hangs around edges, and he plays around with these loosely with definitions, and then he equates like people that aren't even part of like the problem. Like, when we're talking about immigration, and then we're also talking about something like oh shit, no, I missed. Like, but when we're talking about something complicated like that, conflating like immigration with illegal immigration is a dangerous thing, because it means that you're not sparsing out differences. And I've heard him conflate those in some of his videos, and I am troubled. Hopefully Destiny, I didn't watch any of Destiny's streams leading up to this, so I don't know if what he dug up on these talking points. I would not be an effective person in this conversation. I am not as equipped to have this particular immigration conversation than most people.
Compared to like the last like 50 years might also dwarf the last 2,000 years, or the total amount of carbon pollution, or the total amount of TV episodes or plays written or songs written. Like, I don't know if I would just arbitrarily say, I'm going to look at immigration, and I'm going to measure it past some 1,000-year
Right.
thing or whatever.
You don't
Oh,
think that more
fuck.
people coming into a country in 35 years than had come in the previous 2,000 years is quite a lot?
What does quite a lot mean?
I just think that statement is like vacuous and meaningless. When we say
True.
quite a lot, what, like, should it have been less? Like, what kind of immigrants shouldn't have come?
No.
What does that mean?
You're making it into a moral conversation.
It's
I'm
not a
talking
moral
about purely
conversation.
numbers.
It's
You might
actually
think
for-
it's a great thing, right? Like,
Well, to be clear, I'm not talking.
hold on.
Just to be clear, real quick, I'm not
Just-
talking
you
moral.
keep
You said a
interrupting.
lot, yeah.
You keep interrupting. So,
Okay.
if we're talking about quite a lot, you keep trying to make it a moral thing.
I'm not making it a moral thing.
If we're gonna have a conversation, you're gonna have to let me finish a sentence at least.
We'll just don't misquote my position.
I know, yeah, like, so like, this is something that fucking like, these fucking anti-woke, like, dude, I am honestly one of the few anti-woke people you'll meet that actually is anti-woke in the way that I mean, and I don't mean woke that like means progressive politics. I mean woke in the way that you demand some level of like civility towards you. Okay? Konstantin doesn't deserve civility here. Okay? He defends indefensible positions, and he's making an argument to where he's saying that we should have more ethno-states around the globe. It is a racist argument. It doesn't, like, if you want to, you can, like, if you reduce it to its core, that's what it is. There's nothing more deliberate there. Now, if the deeper you get into the weeds, the more you can sparse out information, and that's where things need to be, the conversations need to be had. But like, overall, what he's suggesting is that Japan is for Japanese people, like Britain is for people that are born, like, you know, like he's making those arguments. Yes, he wants some immigration, but he doesn't want immigrations from areas that are incredibly Muslim. And though I am someone who thinks that if you were to put a Muslim standing next to a Christian and you were to rate them on a scale of evilness based off of just their religion, I would argue that the Muslim is going to be like 2% more evil than the Christian. I could put a numeric value there because I detest both of their religions. I think one is slightly worse than the other. I don't give a fuck about caring about anything in between that. They're still both disgusting individuals, and they both are equally capable of living in a Western civilization. It doesn't, like, it's so frustrating, dude, because like they hide behind this bullshit and they'll use like the talking points to justify actual Islamophobia. And I get labeled as Islamophobic just when I say the differences between religion. Like, it's oh my God, dude. These dipshits make my life harder because they're not honest with what they're saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just calm down for a bit.
I'm super calm.
I know you've got your Red Bull. Just have
I
some
have my
water,
Red Bull.
chill
I'm
out.
still super calm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember-
it's a very
Now-
simple question. Yeah.
If more people...
This is what I'm saying. This is woke bullshit. He's offended that destiny is pressing him. But remember, he just did the Kathy Newman thing, all right? As an anti-woke person myself and someone who used to watch dipshits like this, they used to complain about the "so you're saying" bullshit rhetoric that Kathy Newman put to Jordan Peterson. The irony is that they're doing the same thing. He is needling you down to ask you a particular, and you keep conflating his opinion with something that is not what he's saying. So he's trying to interrupt you from creating a fucking false narrative and ask you to answer a question, man. That's not being rude. That's asking you to be honest. Without politician bullshit, without corporate fake conversation shit. Say something and say it with your fucking chest. Say what you think and mean what you say. If you don't have a strong opinion, then shut the fuck up.
Red Bull, just have
I
some
have my
water,
Red Bull.
chill
I'm
out.
still super calm.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a very
Now-
simple question. Yeah.
If more people... If you're making a moral issue, it becomes very
not a
clouded and
moral
complicated.
issue.
Let's just talk about what we're talking about in terms of pure numbers, right?
Let's talk
If
about what I
more
wanna
people
talk
have
about.
come into a country in 35 years than have come in 2,000 years, that is objectively a lot. Now, you might
What do you
think
mean
it's a
by a
good thing.
lot?
Like, I like ice cream, and if I eat a tub of ice cream, I'm not going to say that's not a lot of ice cream. I still like it, but it's a lot of ice cream, right? We'd accept that. It's more, a scoop is not a lot of ice
I
cream, a
hate
tub is a
common
lot of
sense,
ice cream.
bros.
So more people coming into a country in 35 years than had come in 2,000 years is objectively a lot of people, okay?
He's just Asmongold with a higher intelligence level. Fuck. Asmongold is logged as a troglodyte, okay? This guy's logged as like dipshit wizard, okay? That's all it is.
Just to be clear, when you say a lot, that's a normative value that's with
True.
respect to some kind of norm or when you
No.
say a lot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
compared to before.
Yeah,
Compared
that's
to the entire
objectively
span of the
that is
history of this country.
objectively true. It's just kind of a meaningless
Well, thank you.
statement. Like
So you've
everything is
accepted-
a lot
you've
more
accepted
than the
that what
past
I'm saying is
2 millennia.
objectively
Yeah.
true. I'm grateful.
Correct. Yes, that's
So-
a meaningless statement, but yes.
Now that we've got there, what does it mean? Well, first of all, think about it like this. And again, it's not about...
Bro, Trump has fucked up our political discourse so bad that people like this dipshit who do nothing but like politics speak. Fuck. My wire moved on my controller and it's freaking out. Who essentially does nothing but political speak. Who never really makes a qualitative statement. He never really like puts anything out there. Yes, Silver Syndrome, bitch. And a head unit. Suck on my dick. Even though he never really says anything, he allows his racist audience that's mostly Republican to infer. So he brings up all these numbers that reinforce their idea, their worldview, and then they project what they think he means onto him. It's what politicians do when they say good people on both sides. It's what people do when they talk about the system that's out to get them. George Carlin used to talk about against this shit all the time. I would rather you be the biggest asshole in the world, but be an honest asshole, than pretend to be a civil, rational thinking individual in a public setting, But then when you go home, you're still like, fuck them black people. I would just be honest, dude. But the reason why they hide that shit is because people don't want to defend the morally reprehensible things that they do. They just want to run roughshod for being able to like play around at the edges of what they can get away with and be like, well, I didn't say anything bad. And technically. And it's like, okay, yeah. Thanks, bro. Thank you for being so bold. No matter what you will say, Nick Fuentes is a better representative of his ideas than these fucking troglodytes are, dude.
Whether you like it or not, whether you think it's a good thing or not, or a bad thing. The three biggest cities in this country in the last 30 years have ceased to be majority inhabited by the people who are
And is that like a bad thing? Who gives a fuck?
native to this land. That's just a fact. And I am one of the people who's come here in that time. So I'm not saying it's only a terrible thing, but it's an objective fact. The three biggest cities in the country are now majority minority. London, and this has happened very quickly. London was 80% white British in 1991. It is probably around 30% white British today.
Who cares?
So if
Talking
you have
point.
seen that level of change in the city in which you live, think about this as well. 3/4 of the people who live in this country today are over the age of 35. So all of this has happened within the lifetime of one generation, effectively. That is a level of change that is A, completely unprecedented, B, extremely transformative, whether you like it or not, good or bad, whatever.
None of that means anything, though. Unprecedented. What does that mean? Like, do you ever get so annoyed where every year you hear the same thing during winter? It's the coldest winter we've ever had. People have very shitty memories, okay? So one, their perspective is not something I give a fuck about. Two, a larger number of people coming in doesn't really mean anything. What are the factors that caused this to happen? What control did we have over that? And what are these people offering our society? Pro tip, immigration almost always typically results in more money for the country. Just usually the way it works. People come here, they generate wealth, they generate labor, they generate services, they generate goods. Okay? That's usually a net positive. And you cut out the spending cost of having to rear and raise them. And they don't even get to participate in the benefits of their labor until very much later, if at all or ever. There are massive benefits to immigration. Now, we need to have a conversation on what level of immigration is appropriate. That's fine. We can talk about some things that are, dangerous, and we have to be watchful, and we have to vet and check people before they come in. All these are fine. But if you want to get into the weeds, you have to actually get into the fucking weeds, man.
People who are native to this land. That's just a fact. And I am one of the people who's come here in that time. So I'm not saying it's only a terrible thing, but it's an objective fact. The three biggest cities in the country are now majority minority. London, and this has happened very quickly. London was 80% white British in 1991. It is probably around 30% white British today. So if you have seen that level of change in the city in which you live, think about this as well. 3/4 of the people who live in this country today are over the age of 35. So all of this has happened within the lifetime of one generation, effectively. That is a level of change that is A, completely unprecedented, B, extremely transformative, whether you like it or not, good or bad, whatever you may think. You might think, the amount of different...
Like everything is unprecedented until the next unprecedented. Like it's just a talking point. It doesn't mean anything. Last year's immigration was probably unprecedented. This year's immigration is unprecedented. Populations are rising. Like, oh my God, dude. And people want to immigrate to places that are going to have a better opportunity for them and their family. More people coming doesn't mean anything. There should be more people coming every year. That growth should continue to increase as populations grow. Yes. Hello. Welcome to human civilization. What the fuck, man?
kinds of food has got better. It's true, objectively. But it's also true, objectively, that entire swathes of this city are no longer inhabited by the people who used to live here.
Oh,
Again,
no.
this is an objective fact. You can like it, you can dislike it, but that is something that has happened. This is true of London, it's true of Manchester, it's true of Birmingham, and it's true of several other smaller cities in this country. By 2060, according to current projections, white British people will become a minority in this country.
Oh, no.
2060 is the next 35 years, right? And
It's such bullshit, dude. Like, they're not... He doesn't believe any of this because, like, the Europeans are the most racist assholes to other white people. Like, one group of Europeans or one group of whites hate another group of whites. It's like the only place on earth where everyone looks identical to anyone outside of Europe, and everyone's like, oh, that guy's this, that guy. Bro, you guys don't have a single identity. Doesn't matter the color of your skin. What is happening, dude?
the entire kind of demographic transformation. These are the facts. Forget about people's opinions, my opinion, your opinion. In terms of illegal immigration, there are now almost 1 million. We don't know exactly because it's hard to measure, but we have almost 1 million illegal immigrants in Britain
like
today, which for a population of 70 million is quite a lot. We currently spend £14 million a day. I'm not talking about the cost to the taxpayer of having a...
It's so annoying that these guys just do this. They just come on. My fucking controller went out again. Bro. Poverty, dude. Poverty. Wisdom. Okay, I can't use one hand on that. That's not working. You don't even have to. Like, he picks them up automatically. I should have just been talking instead of running my fucking... Yeah! Bro, they changed drop rates. They had to have. I used to have to do like 10 of these to get one fucking head. And now I'm getting head all the time. Listen. I hate this guy. I hate it. I even forgot what I was talking about, bro. My brain.
Effectively. That is a level of change that is A, completely unprecedented, B, extremely transformative, whether you like it or not, good or bad, whatever you may think. You might think, oh, you know, the amount of different kinds of food has got better. It's true, objectively. But it's also true, objectively, that entire swathes of this city are no longer inhabited by the people who used to live here. Again, this is an objective fact. You can like it, you can dislike it, but that is something that has happened. This is true of London, it's true of Manchester, it's true of Birmingham, and it's true of several other smaller cities in this country. By 2060, according to current projections, white British people will become a minority in this country. 2060 is the next 35 years, right? And that's the entire kind of demographic transformation. These are the facts. Forget about people's opinions, my opinion, your opinion. In terms of illegal immigration, there are now almost 1 million. We don't know exactly because it's hard to measure, but we have almost 1 million illegal immigrants in Britain today,
Why are we
which for a population of 70 million is quite a lot. We currently spend £14 million a day. I'm not talking about the cost to the taxpayer of having 1 million illegal immigrants here. I'm talking about how much we spend to accommodate them and all other things. Now, 14 million, is that a lot per day? It's quite a lot. But also this is happening at an unprecedented rate. More people come to Britain illegally today than came legally when I came here in 1996. I'll say that again. More people come here illegally every year than came here in 1996 when I came here.
Oh,
that's the level of change when it comes
to
illegal immigration. And the cost of it, £14 million a day, is increased by a factor of 10 in the last 10 years alone. So it's 1,000% more than what it was. Those are the facts about immigration. So when we talk about immigration and whether it's compatible with national identity, it depends what we mean. If we're talking about 20, 30, 40,000 people a year, highly selective from compatible cultures as it used to be, perfectly compatible and in fact I think probably quite desirable. If we're talking about what we've seen over the last 30 years, I don't think it's compatible with any sort of national identity at all. Now, I've been talking for a long time, so we can get to national identity after you've addressed that.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Sure, so I guess the thing
that's what these fuckers do. They go on, they pull all these talking points out, and then they spout out bullshit. But it doesn't mean anything. He didn't go into any details. He just threw out numbers, and he didn't prescribe anything to it. It was vacuous, empty statements and worthless platitudes left for you to infer. Think about it from the perspective of a hardcore leftist that really is into immigration. All he heard was, we're succeeding. Think about it from a MAGA, hardcore isolationist. Think about it this way. We're fucking failing. How did he have a sentence that didn't prescribe anything and didn't reaffirm anyone's, all it did is reaffirm people's like beliefs. Nothing was said there. It was empty. It was vacuous. And this is what Trump has done. He has corrupted our political environment to such a degree that now we look to these people that used to say nothing, that used to get mocked by Hollywood and people like George Carlin, okay? They now sound intelligent. He said nothing.
That is a little bit strange to me about the immigration question is sometimes I'll hear a bunch of descriptions laid out and I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do with them. There's oftentimes a lack of a prescriptive statement. It seems like there's a little bit of fear of committing to any particular idea about what an ideal immigrant would look like.
True.
And then it feels like we're sometimes also lumping a ton of immigrants together. So for instance, when we say there have been so many more immigrants that have come here in the past 30, 35 years, but then we also mention like illegal immigrants or asylum seekers, these are all different groups of people. So I don't know why.
I separated them out. I talked about legal immigration and illegal immigration, right?
I understand, but so the prompt has to do with basically can a country's culture, whatever, survive mass migration? Illegal immigrants are not mass migrating here. The mass migration.
They are. So I just told you more illegal immigrants come here every year now than legal immigrants came here 30 years ago.
I understand that, but if you look at
they are mass migrating.
So then are the legal ones mass migrating, or what? Is it just...
The legal immigrants are also mass migrating. It's possible for them both to be
like
mass
10
migrating.
to 1,
Yeah.
right? So, so comparing the two, it seems like we're talking about different kinds of... We're probably talking about different kinds of immigrants. We talk about legal versus illegal.
We're talking about both, yeah.
Well, no.
But you can't have the same descriptor for it if they're 10 to 1 difference. Like mass implies that like the horde is coming. So if we're having, like, maybe we can talk about percentage-wise, but, like, we can't have the same descriptor to explain the migration levels for the illegals. Like, it just doesn't work. Because if one is a mass, then how is the other one a mass? Like, if one, like, let's say, like, the talking point in America is we have, what, like, 30 million illegal immigrants here. That seems like a pretty mass level of immigrants. Okay, now that's just counting. Like none of that news is correct. But for the sake of our, let's just say the Republican hardcore right wing nut jobs are correct. Let's just say they are, right? We would be able to call that mass immigration, or that because that's a shit ton of people. We wouldn't then use the same descriptor to say then we also have 1 million of this. You know what I mean? You just go with, like, you don't have to conflate the two things. That's just like where the weird thing is. And that's where the hardcore right-wing people are going to jump on the bandwagon and be like, hell yeah, we got, you know what I mean? And he loves having their audience, like their eyes on his content. And he'll pay lip service to saying that it's bad that, but he'll never deliberately come out and say that these types of individuals are, disgusting, like he's happy that they still spend their time watching his content. That he has a big mag. Oh shit! I don't even know how to get this guy's head out. Oh no! I can't even lock onto it, dude. Lock onto the head. Ah! I haven't played this game in like 2 years.
I'm talking about both.
You don't see any difference between a legal immigrant versus an illegal immigrant?
Well, of course I do.
Okay.
But they are both mass migrating here. They're both coming here in unprecedented numbers.
Everything definitionally is unprecedented as you move forward in years. We have an unprecedented amount of technology, an unprecedented amount of energy generation, an unprecedented amount of...
I think you might be confused about the meaning of the word unprecedented.
Unprecedented as in it hasn't happened at that level before. Yeah.
Right. So if we have immigration...
Like, could you imagine? Like, all right, so we have unprecedented numbers. And then the next year we have a decline in immigration, but it's such a sharp decline. Then someone can be like, this is an unprecedented sharp decline in... It doesn't mean anything. You can't explain this enough.
Migration of 20,000 people a year, that wouldn't be unprecedented because we had that before.
Yeah, but the population is growing of the country, the population of the rest of the planet is growing, the economy is growing, there's a whole bunch of other factors at play. It's not like all else equal, there's just 10 million people that have shown up. like there's
sure we're
other
still
factors at play at all points in time as well. So
Yes,
it's a bit
but
reductive to say like, well, we have an unprecedented wave of whatever. There's unprecedented things happening definitionally every year forward into the future we go.
No, that's
Yes.
not true.
Well, and what's the thing that's been frozen in time?
I just explained it to you.
Yes, you laid out a bunch of numbers, and I just explained why
No,
they're
no, I ju-
contextless and meaningless. But now I'm asking, what is the thing that's unprecedented?
Look-
or I'm sorry, what would be a thing that is not changing in the past 30 years? Like if you had to look at something.
One of the most amazing things of arguing with anybody from your position is the extent to which they refuse to understand what words mean. I just explained to you repeatedly what unprecedented means. It means that it hasn't happened before. There have been times in the history of this country when its immigration was in the tens of thousands, and for us to go back to that would not be going forward to something unprecedented.
Just so you know, the debate's over. Destiny already won. There's not even a point to continuing to watch this. When you already are getting pushback, Destiny is saying, and look, I'm a fucking dipshit, okay? I worked on cars for a living. I was a former truck driver. I play video games for fun. I am a fucking moron. What Destiny is talking about is how the word unprecedented in here doesn't really mean anything because you aren't giving a qualifier. You're not actually giving like, is this bad or this is good? So like you're just saying people are here, but that isn't saying anything. Your point of the debate is to say that the civilization can't do that and it needs to stop. So when you're talking about these things coming here, we don't know what like you're referring to when you just say a mass of people are here. What does that mean? Are you saying that how many of these immigrants should have been turned away? What type of immigrants aren't allowed to cross our border? What we're asking you to not just speak about something broadly. We're asking you to give like an opinion. When you just say, here are the facts, fuck what my opinion is. No, that's not what we're here to argue. We're here to argue whether or not that this country can survive mass immigration, okay? And you're here to defend a side of that position. You're not here to just wax like, well, these are the numbers, and it doesn't matter what people think about it. These are the numbers, and you can do with them as what you will. And then he's like, well, I need more than what are the numbers? What is your argument? What does it matter that these numbers are good or bad? You're here not to act as like a vehicle for both sides. You're here to make a stance. And you're supposed to articulate a defense of that stance. That's the point of debate. You're not here to converse. You're here to debate your values with someone. And you aren't even able to tell me what those are. I don't know what the fuck you're doing here. Nice. My controller's still on. Sweet.
It would be returning to something that we used to do.
Sure.
Right?
And my question
and so
is,
what has happened in the last 30
I understand
years
what's happened. You've explained it
is
several times.
unprecedented.
Is there anything in U.S. culture, in British culture, that has remained the same for the past 30, 40, 50, 60 years?
No.
For the past 100 years, that doesn't have an unprecedented thing happening constantly?
Absolutely. I mean, that is what a culture is. It is what is preserved over time.
How?
A culture is what people do without having been told to do so by a law. It's,
But what is an example of a culture that is unchanging?
How much have you traveled around the world?
Probably more than you?
Probably not, actually.
Okay. So then you should be able to very easily answer.
I'm
Here's an
about
example
to.
of a culture that exists.
Every time I try and answer your question, you keep talking over.
Well, it's
you
because
don't
when you answer, you
answer.
ramble and say irrelevant things. So my question
How
is
can
like,
I ramble in half a sentence?
You've been saying plenty of sentences. Do you think the speaking time up to this point is even, or do you think you've spoken more than me?
I have spoken more than you, but I haven't
Exactly. So
interrupted
then you had an opportunity to speak. You're just not answering my question. So my question is very simple. What's a culture that you feel has been unchanged for the past 50 years? Or what is an example of cultural preservation? I feel like cultures are evolving all the time. It's definitionally a part of culture.
Of course. Cultures are evolving all the time, but if you were to be
bitch.
plonked in 1970s Afghanistan and 1990s Afghanistan and 2010s Afghanistan and 1950s Britain, 1970s Britain and 2010s Britain, there would be common themes that run through both of those places so that you would instantly recognize, I am in Afghanistan, I am in Britain. Would you accept that?
I agree that different cultures are different. Yes.
Right, well done. Good. So we've got there then.
No, but
Well,
I
you
didn't-
just established that there are.
He asked you, what is a culture that has stayed the same that doesn't progress through time? Because what Destiny's trying to say is just because a culture is changing, that doesn't necessarily mean the change is bad. Cultures have adapted throughout time. None of them usually stay stagnant. Even the Christian Orthodoxy has become like, even Catholicism is like way more adopting with gay rights now. Like, cultures shift and adjust, and he's asking you to name a culture that has remained static, and you're just saying that there's one culture and another. That doesn't answer the question. Like, how are you? Didn't this guy like go to Cambridge or something? Like, how?
This is like saying
Different
that
cultures are different, which means that
that
they
wasn't
have
the
something
question.
about them
Yes, and
that makes them different.
If
right?
you have a brother, both of you will be different for your entire lives. But
But
that
there
doesn't
would be
mean-
a family culture that you have
But-
that's different to other families.
But you wouldn't be the same as you were when you were 10 years old.
No,
you
you
would grow
wouldn't.
and change,
Of
right?
course.
So when you talk about
But you're still the
preserving
same
culture,
person, right?
What?
You're still the same person.
Yeah, but you're
You can't even make the claim you're still the same person. That is up to debate. You might have the same identity. You might have the same you might have the same fingerprint. But are you the same person? Like, you get into like the muddy conversation of what is a person? Is a person their memories? Is a person like the individual decisions they make? Like, this isn't something that is just cut and dry. You're just the same person 50 years down the line. You might be the same entity to speak of, but you may not be the same person because your morals, values, and things have adjusted throughout such a high level of time. Your level of intelligence can affect this. No, you're not just the same person because you inhabit the same frame. And with the birth of AI and potentially moving other things in different directions, like who knows what a person can be in fucking 60 years, bro? Like, you may not even be the same entity. We might one day be uploaded into like a fucking consciousness. Like, there's no way of making that claim, dude. Yes, you are most likely to be the same entity 50 years down the line, but are you the same person? No. There's like way different yes. There's a conversation about what a person is. And to make such a bold claim means that he doesn't even wrestle with the topic. Like, okay, dude. Like, how is he so sure of so much, but also says so little of anything? Like, that was the first, like, actual statement he made this conversation. That was the first thing that told me something about him as an individual based off of what he said. Like, I believe that he believes that.
dramatically changed.
But you're still the same.
No. Are you the same as you were 10 or 15 years ago? What do you mean by that? The same. You're not unchanged, right?
Are you pretending to be a moron, or are you actually being one?
So your claim was that we need to preserve culture because cultures aren't supposed to change.
No, that's not my claim.
Okay, then help me understand. So
Yes.
I will.
Because
if you
if
stop
you don't
interrupting me.
remember, this whole topic started with I'm curious, what is a thing that is precedented? What's the thing that happens continuously through all of history that isn't changing? And then you
True.
pointed to the fact that Afghanistan and the United Kingdom are different cultures. Like, that's something that I would reject.
No, I didn't. I was just explaining to you what cultures are, which are the cultural differences
That's
between
not the
groups of people that
question.
remain fairly constant over time, despite changing somewhat, as all cultures do.
Your definition of culture is the difference between your culture and another
No,
culture?
I gave you my definition.
You just said. You said it was the
I came
differences
here-
between cultures that change over time that define one culture against another one.
Okay, let's reset. And you talk for a bit, and then I talk for a bit.
Oh, he cannot take being the big boss. This is why he likes his little show. His show, people come to. Oh fuck! The controller did the thing again.
And then you talk for a bit.
Oh, sorry, no, I didn't. I gotta hit A. Look, dude, he loves being on his show because when he's on his show, he can say this. Let's reset. He's the one running the show. You think his buddy is like calling the shots there, dude? I guarantee you that business is like 80% this dude. And the other guy is his buddy or something, or maybe his original backer or whatever. But like the other guy is the one, like you don't see the other guys showing up to do good conversations or debates. Like he knows that he's just there to offer a different like voice every once in a while. And at the end of the day, when their show finally separates, people are going to go follow that guy. And I even like that guy more than this dude. But this guy is more articulate, better at speaking, whatever. The reason why all that matters is like he can't be in a position where someone is giving him any kind of major pushback. Like he's getting actually upset because he's not registering the question properly, like, and he's unable to answer it, or he's unwilling to, so he's just feigning, like hiding behind some level of wokeness or civility to like, oh God, this is just unbearable. I came here, you know, so he's being the woke scald thing he complains about. It's such a level of hypocrisy that I just cannot fathom anyone in the world sitting through this and going, yeah, that's my guy. Like, how? I don't do you attempt to put your pants on both legs at a time? Do you just like fucking dive into that shit, bro? Like, what the fuck is happening, dude? I cannot believe there was a time I used to think this gentleman was worthy of consideration and his values. Now that I just realized he wanted to make fun of blue-haired tranny people, and that's all he wanted. Like, it was just all a ruse to try and make money off of making fun of progressive politics under like some thin veil of being a truth seeker. But as soon as it comes down time to like be even remotely critical of your own opinions, you become the woke scoldy fucking Karen you complained about the entire uprising of your... It's like when Eminem was like the FCC guy and saying, I want to fucking like essentially sexually assault people on stages and bringing up people's sexual proclivities and making fun of women and being anti-gay and shit for so long that he eventually had to do like these PR things where he came out in support of all these things. And like, but he was just a terrible, disgusting human, and that's what played so well with so many people. And then now for him to come out and woke scold people just feels shallow. It's like when Howard Stern does it. But this guy is doing the same thing. As an anti-woke person who doesn't like it when people tell other people what to think, feel, and say, this is the bullshit that is wokeness, and he's embodying it entirely. How fucking insane is that?
No, because I noticed that this is how it feels like a lot of these types of people, the centrists, the reformers, the MAGA, whatever, is you paint with such broad brushstrokes that by the end of a sentence, I feel like you haven't really said much at all.
True.
And I'm just kind of curious why, when you guys speak about things like the preservation of culture, I don't really hear you allude to anything concrete. Or when you talk about wanting to preserve something, you talk about how something has changed. I don't necessarily hear like what are the things that are changing that you don't like. You'll point to things like crimes, but I mean,
or if they do, they'll say Western values.
Like, crimes are illegal. Obviously, they shouldn't be happening. I just don't really hear anything concrete ever, and it's very unsatisfying to listen to a bunch of people kind of ramble on and on and on without ever having a clear point about what they're talking about. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out, for British or American culture, what are these things that you feel are common, maybe you go back 30, 40, 50 years, that were common across the whole country that you feel are changing in a way that they never changed in the past?
Okay, done?
Are you going to answer that question?
No,
He's
won't.
not going to answer the question. Go ahead.
I've attempted to answer your question many times, and I'll do so again. However, first of all, am I going to be okay to speak now for a bit?
Oh my
Is
God.
that going to happen?
Sure. Can you repeat my question first so I know what you're...
Your question is about what is culture.
That's not
You brought
his
up crime.
That
question!
wasn't my question. My
It wasn't your
question is,
question.
over the past 30 or 40 years, what are things that have changed
Yeah.
in American or British culture that you feel over the past 200 years before that were unchanging?
Okay. One of the things that has changed in Britain over the last 30 years is we now have extensive number of Islamist terrorist attacks, mass stabbings,
Oh, at least he's got some
mass
balls to
rape
talk
of
about.
British girls by Islamist and Muslim grooming
Hey, what
gangs.
the fuck?
This is not something that happened in this culture before.
Wait,
Okay, so sexual
So
assault and
that-
rape
that-
did happen.
wait. Is this man really gonna say that they didn't have rapes before? See how he added a qualify? God, these guys love their buzzwords. So he can't just say that there's been a slight increase in rapes or whatever among these individuals. He can't say that because like that doesn't sound alarming. He has to come out and say there's mass rapes happening, and mass rapes didn't happen before. One, not true. Rapes have happened throughout your kingdom for like the entire time it's existed. Matter of fact, I think rape was invented in your kingdom. Just saying. Rape is like a universal language, and it's happened forever. So, no, more Muslims coming there didn't make rape a thing in your country suddenly. Rape has always existed, and rape is bad. Let's put that out there first and foremost. Rape is not just bad, it is unequivocally evil. And if you rape someone, well, you should lose your right to have your appendage. Just saying. Might be extreme, I don't care. Listen, Linda, They have to add in words like mass rape because this way they can attribute another qualifier to it so they can act like it's unprecedented. The real conversation is maybe there has been an uptick in the Muslim community with sexual assault cases broadly. And maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe there's something we have to look into there. But to say there's a mass rape campaign by an entire group of people is just white power bullshit. And it is not accurate to describe anything. They use mass all the time.
Before and
I.e. like mass shooting. That means 4 people or more died. It gives off a negative connotation on purpose. And it's a thing that Republicans love to do, which is again why he gets labeled as a Republican all the time.
Did you hear the words I said, or did you?
So you said grooming gangs. I know there's the example from the 80s and 90s with the Rotherham.
They're not from the
grooming
80s
gang.
and 90s. They're happening right now.
What is another grooming gang example? Because I know there are rapes and stuff that happen, but I don't think there are.
Yeah, well, let me explain it to you. So grooming gangs, this is a euphemism that we use to pretend that they're not what they are mass rape gangs where young British girls, usually underage, but also often sometimes young women, would be plied with drugs, plied with alcohol, would be taken from the care homes where they were, predominantly by Pakistani, sometimes other Indian subcontinent Muslims.
Did he say subcontinent?
They would be targeted primarily because they were white and British, so these were racially aggravated hate crimes. And they would be mass raped over periods of years sometimes. That didn't.
Could it just be that they think white women got nice ass? Like, wait, what? Like, look, why do you know so much about rape cases? Like this, these guys find and cherry pick talking points to like attribute like a thing. But when it comes down to like defining what they mean, they run and hide like fucking cowards. All right, let me make sure I'm still recording because I installed Arc on my computer and it was like 200 gigs and I only had 380. So I record in 4K for some fucking reason. And then when I produce a video, it comes out in fucking, because I use Sony Vegas 20 or 17 or I don't fucking know. Oh, God. Okay, let's do it.
Not used to happen in Britain.
So
that is a cultural
it did used
change.
to happen.
Can I
Just the
finish
big-
what I'm saying,
Okay,
please?
you're not going to answer my question. Okay.
God, he's such a soy
I am answering the
fuck.
question.
Well, my question
That is
was,
a
what are examples? I don't think this has happened outside of the Rotherham grooming gang, that whole scandal. There have been
From the
rapes.
90s,
There have
I
been
think.
gang rapes, but the idea of like a coordinated grooming gang type mass Pakistani targeting British girls rapes, that type of thing is not a thing that I'm aware has been seen in Britain outside of the large Rotherham scandal.
So, well, I don't know. I think the fact that somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million British girls might have been raped by these gangs is quite a big deal. And
Oh, yeah, but you're saying it's like a mass coordinated campaign of a group of people from a particular country committing mass rape campaigns. So the question is, when was like last time any evidence of this has ever happened? And like the big case that you guys have is something from the early 90s before you even immigrated to the goddamn country. Because I think he's talking about something that happened in 92. I know very little about the topic, but I've heard it come up in debates before. And then he immigrated in 96. So it was happening. He immigrated to a country that was doing this.
represents a change in the culture of this country that I think is quite
I
could
never
have
said it
my
wasn't a
dates
big deal. I think rape is bad. I just think it's bad when white people do it too. I think it's bad when everybody does it. My understanding is right now for the crime stats in the United Kingdom, it tends to be more white people are even overrepresented in terms of sexual assault and rape. But I'm aware that there are immigrants that rape people as well. I think all rape is bad, but the idea that there is a mass Islamist, jihadist, rape gang-centered thing in the United Kingdom that's functioning,
So
I think
how many girls would have to be raped for you to admit that it's a mass thing?
Oh, what a pivot question. All right, here's the honest answer, okay? It would just take a handful of girls getting raped in a coordinated way for me to say that's not, like, that would be a campaign of rape. But, like, that's a different claim, okay? We're not talking about total numbers of people, right? Like, that's not, we're not saying that it's like an invisible number threshold. We're saying that, like, if you want to make the claim that there's mass rape campaigns from particular countries, you have to, like, kind of prove that. And the last case that there was like from the early 90s. Maybe there are these terrible things happening, but like it's not just based off of a numeric value. Like it doesn't go from like 1 million rapes a year to, you know, 1,000,001 rapes a year, and now all of a sudden it's like a coordinated campaign effect from a fucking foreign national country that might be seeking to like do maximum damage. Oh fuck! Well, that sucked. Didn't see that. But bro, what a stupid fucking question.
The question isn't if it's a mass
Well,
thing. The question is if it's organized. You have a huge problem with definitions. I'm sorry, let me try to keep this back. You're not understanding. You're not following the conversation.
Stephen,
rape is bad, but organized grooming gang rape.
You've asked me a lot of questions, and every time I answer them, you ignore my
really
answer.
at all, but
now answer my question.
Yeah.
Answer my question. If 500,000 girls have been mass raped in this way, specifically being targeted because they were not of a particular religion or ethnicity, how many of them would have to be treated in this way for you to admit that it's a mass thing?
It would be based off
what's
of
the number
evidence.
that makes answer my question.
Wasn't I don't know how you would identify
Give
a
us
mass
a number.
thing.
Give us a
the
number.
question was organized
Give us a
grooming.
number. You said
500,001. So you're right. You're right beneath the threshold. Maybe tomorrow you'll have it.
It's actually
so the question is
it's
there
actually
organized?
between half a million and a million.
Okay. I'll ramble for a second, and then you can ramble after.
So you agree that it's mass.
My issue is because you guys, you do this thing over and over again where you won't accurately identify a problem. You'll invent these things because rape isn't bad enough. Now it has to be like a mass grooming gang rape thing. And then what happens is you conservatives, you play this game where you falsely identify a problem, you lie to the audience about it, and then you manage to gain power. You go through with some wacky scheme. Go figure, the wacky scheme doesn't fix anything, and then somehow you come back with the same recycled narratives over and over again asking for another shot at it. It's happening right now with Farage and reform. It happened with Brexit. Brexit didn't reduce immigration. It didn't help you with your economy. It didn't do anything really good for the United Kingdom at all. And then it's happening now with reform coming in and making all of these promises to the British people that you're going to be able to cut all of the revenues coming in, you're going to be able to increase all of your funding, you're going to have a no-wait NHS, and it's all built on the same lies over and over again that didn't help you affect any positive outcomes in the past, and it's not going to help you affect any positive outcomes in the future. You can sit here and you can be upset about it, but I watched you and Matt Goodwin debate on stage where you guys both made the bold prediction that once the Tories were out, your immigration numbers would be over 1 million per year. They plummeted to 300,000. I haven't heard you say anything about that. Your predictions were completely wrong, just as they were with Brexit as well.
I don't know anything about that. We get him. He looks pissed.
Well, that was a wonderful presentation. The problem for you is I voted Remain in the referendum.
Oh boy, that means so much.
Because you hadn't been bullied by the Cambridge students yet. I'm aware of the history, but I know.
So, you've come here with a bunch of talking points. That's great.
Oh,
hold on, we can break down anything you want.
Stop interrupting.
Don't accuse me of having talking points.
Stop.
You've come here with talking points, but stop interrupting my talking points. Meanwhile, I want to get into the weeds. Let's have a conversation. Oh, God. Do not stop interrupting. Make this little bitch bleed. Every time these people talk, it needs to be done through this level of, like, scrutiny. Every time. And if they want to fucking wax and just get on some political soapbox and, both sides this and, I'm just a classical... No, man. Put their feet to the fire.
Stop interrupting. Stop interrupting.
Stop being wrong.
Stop interrupting.
Bitch.
Stop
Pussy.
interrupting.
Address what I've said.
Stop interrupting.
I believe in you.
Crybaby.
Stop interrupting.
Pussy.
I let you talk and I let you make your points. Have some respect for me and for my opportunity to express myself as well.
You're not an individual.
That is how a debate is conducted. So stop interrupting.
No, not at all.
We started this with a conversation about mass immigration, and I gave you the facts on it, and I defined what immigration is, right? Mass immigration. Now, you're talking about culture. I also explained to you what culture is, and I explained it to you by explaining that it's a continuity of certain things which may also evolve over time. Now, in terms of your point about mass immigration since Brexit, I was not a supporter of Brexit. I didn't think it was necessarily a good idea.
All right, look,
and I agree with you that it hasn't reduced...
Like, if you're talking about, like, a Cambridge debate, yeah, you're not supposed to interrupt, all right? But this isn't a Cambridge debate, okay? These are two people with different political opinions agreeing to have a conversation in good faith to get to some form of truth. And if you are not answering questions or you're not providing the context required to get to that point, you're operating in bad faith. And people that operate in bad faith should be shouted down. It doesn't matter how politely they operate in bad faith. They are operating in bad faith. And doing so means that you are not a serious person. And you should be treated like shit, because that means you're here to put up roadblocks to conversation. Those people should be shouted down. That is negative decorum in the pursuit of truth. Full send. I don't know where my mouse is.
Immigration, but I don't see how that's relevant to this conversation. We have had mass immigration happen in this country continually over a long period of time, which has changed the country in the way that I gave you. And I gave you a number of examples, like Islamist terrorism, like grooming gangs, and other things, which I don't think you're able to address because they counteract the argument that you keep making, which is, well, nothing changes when you bring in 8 million people over 30 years.
Did I say that?
Can I finish, please?
Did I say that?
Can
Why do
I
you have to
finish?
invent
Can I
points?
finish,
Why
please?
do you have to lie?
Can I can't address anything.
Can I
say?
finish,
Okay.
please? If I
Pretend it's
interrupted
a
you,
podcast
if I
episode. Go ahead.
interrupted you every
Make up
time you
positions for me.
misrepresent my
Go for
argument,
it.
you'd never talk at
Go
all.
for it. Okay.
So, can I finish, please? You made the point that basically what I'm trying to say is, not trying to say, what I'm saying is, when you bring in large numbers of people into a country from a different culture, that will necessarily change the culture. The other thing that I explained to you is, there's been such a large wave of immigration into this country now that has fundamentally changed the sense of British people about the place in which they live. It is affecting the demographic dynamics of major cities in this country and the way people feel about that. But all of those things, the facts that I gave you about immigration, they are what they are. You can think that they're good, you can think that they're bad. That is a separate conversation. The facts are what they are, right? There's also a thing about how British people feel about it. When I came to this country in 1996, 3% of the British public thought that immigration was a major...
What the fuck does this have to do with anything? Why can they not answer a question? Like, bro, we don't need a monologue for fucking 5 minutes about why you immigrated, dude. And this is where he's going to make the appeal. Well, I'm not one of the bad immigrants. I'm one of the selected good ones because I have the right skin color and values. I'm just another working man. This is political speak. This is like, I want to run for office. This man is not saying anything, man.
Concern. Today, about 65 to 70% of British people say that there are too many immigrants in this country and too many immigrants coming here. Now, I think British people probably have a better idea of how they feel about immigration.
No, they don't. Why would you trust the layman at any point? The laymen do not know what the fuck they're talking about. Why would you trust the people? I'm sorry, someone who doesn't have a proper education, he should be the one that I care about because, like, he couldn't be possibly altered by the news, couldn't be possibly altered by fake information or his friends or peer pressure or whatever. Like, I should try, like, he's like the moral, no. They have the best call to power. That's why democracy matters. But they aren't the sole arbiters of right and wrong.
Immigration than you, Stephen, and that is how they feel.
Why do you think over half the British population believes that the majority of the immigrants here today are here illegally, if they've got such a great handle on it or a great idea about what immigration is doing to the country?
The reason that people overestimate immigration is people generally, when asked about things, overestimate pretty much everything or underestimate things terribly because people are not very good with numbers.
There's no way. He can't just say... He can't just say... Well, I think the people of Britain are a way better judge of character on this, and then also turn around and say, well, they also are massively incorrect and overinflate numbers and are very reactionary. You can't use them as an authority and then undercut their authority. Holy fuck.
But the other reason, of course, people aren't able to quote you the exact number of people who
I didn't ask for a quote of the exact number.
You said this earlier, and I'm addressing your broader point, which is why do people misunderstand the immigration statistics, is that people don't look at immigration as this is the number of people who came this year and this is the number of people who came last year. They look at the reality of their lives, they look at the change they see around them, and what they're really concerned about is the cumulative impact of immigration over the period of their lifetime, which, as I explained to you, has been huge, unprecedented over the last 35 years.
You see how like he can say white nationalist shit, but then like pretend like he didn't just say that because he's like, well, I didn't say that. This is just what the people feel. Why do you have an idea of what the people feel on the like white nationalist identitarian side? And why would you even pay lip service to it? I hate these people, man. Like Jordan Peterson used to do this, and I used to respect him back in the day. You're like, I'm not saying this. This is what the science would indicate. And it's like, well, you're here as a representative of that information. What do you think, sir? What is your opinion, sir? God damn it.
And will be even more unprecedented in terms of its cumulative impact over the next 35 years. Now, it's true that immigration has come down to 300 or something thousand in the last year. Doesn't mean it will stay that way, but also I never predicted it would get to 1 million. I think Matt did. But the point I would make is the transformation over...
He's got his little buddy. His buddy can make the outrageous claim. He can play... Well, I never said that. My co-host did. A co-host who you agree with on almost everything. And you probably were like, hell yeah, dude. Good statement. You probably paid him to say that. How about that? How about that? You probably paid him to say that.
For a 30-year period is what people actually care about, and which is what they're right to care about.
No, it's
now,
not.
As for the point about illegal immigration, yeah, it's true. Illegal immigration is a smaller percentage of the total immigration that we have than legal immigration, but it's still higher today than it was 35
It's always going to be
years
higher.
ago and 30 years ago, which is way too high. Illegal immigration should be zero.
All crime should be zero.
Do we have any final thoughts before we move on to the next?
Yeah, I mean, every crime should be zero, but there's always going to be some amount of crime or some amount of illegal immigrants. I guess the issue I have is that, you say, why do the British people not understand the exact numbers? I didn't ask for the exact numbers. It's like 10 or 11 million to 1 million. There are different estimates from 500,000 to 1.3 million or whatever illegals. That's a big ratio, 10 to 1 to be off by, to assume it's 50-50, that, or that there are more illegals than there are legal immigrants here. And I think the issue is people in Europe.
All right. Just because our little woke boy Konstantin over here would use this argument. He used to like get totally peeved at the fact that feminists couldn't decide why the gender pay gap wasn't the same. And there was a lot of confusion about it. Now, it is annoying that the gender pay gap seems to fluctuate depending on who's talking. But maybe those fluctuations can be dependent on race, like black women would make less than white women, Indian women might make more than white women, or Asian women might make more than white women. Mexican women might make less than a white, maybe the fluctuating pay scale for each woman could have been different because of their particular race. Now, it is true, by and large, it is illegal for a company to pay you less for your sex and your gender. That's true. In America, you will be treated fairly. Predominantly these days. Now, that's not to say that the employer might not be a sexist asshole that might not hire you because you're a woman or in a field or whatever. There's still sexism stuff that is there, and the reason why the gender pay gap was such a hot button topic is because it was just a universal aggregate for most women, and some of them even included the unpaid labor of being a mother or a caretaker, which no matter who you are, that is a job, and it is typically unpaid. So if you add that into the factor, the pay gap actually starts to make a little more sense. But the big problem for people like Konstantin is that they used to needle the fucking fact that they didn't know the exact definition or the exact number